me see if my microphone is working. Hey, hello Derek, welcome. I'm a little bit of a mess today. I'm still not feeling 100%, but I am feeling a lot better. Yeah, it's more like a tickly cough now than a full-on chesty cough. Still a little bit annoying, but it's I don't feel like crap. Let me put on some music. It's all very chill. How are you feeling? How's COVID treating you? Been worse. It's not too bad. Are you feeling any better, or are you feeling much the same? That's progress. That's progress in the right direction for, you know, doing stuff. How's the sound? Is the sound quality okay? A little quiet. I think it's because I keep messing around with the mic. Okay, let me see if that is any better. Yeah, that should be better. The volume was turned down quite a bit. Yeah, no problem. I know a few other people were wanting to pop in, so I'll give it a few minutes before we start looking. Yeah, Korg. You probably won't even be able to see him because the light is so bright, but he is. There's a Triceratops skull in the Viv. And Korg is currently hiding behind it. You can see the viewer number going up. Yeah. I've been excited for this for a good few months now. Let me actually double check when the Kickstarter ended. Okay, I'm trying to find when it finished. Actually, when it started is probably a better point. March 2021. He may have even been as far back as February. Yeah. So I've been excited for this to come in for almost a year. Should probably make a post about how I'm now live. Yep. Yeah, let's do that. Wonder how many times I can get away with quote retweeting the same post. Hey Marvel Mao. Well, I'm gonna give some people a few more minutes to jump on, and then I will tilt my camera, and we can have a look at the book. Pretty sure I can readjust the camera to sit nicely over the top. Okay. So what do we want to look at first? Do we want to look at the cloth map that I got from with the game, or the GM screen, the core book, or the starter box? Yeah, that's fine, Mel. Yeah. Always happy to take commissions. Cloth map. Yeah, we'll start slow then. We'll start with a cloth map. So, this thing is huge. And yeah, I think it's going to get framed. So the Kickstarter had an option for 2 maps. There was the map of the Shire, which is what I got here because I thought that would be nicer to kind of put up in a frame somewhere. And it's so very like tied to like Tolkien, you know, the Hobbit starts there, the Lord of the Rings starts there. That I couldn't not get the cloth map of the Shire. The other option was a map of Eriador, which is like the former kingdom of Arnor. It's where Bree and like a big chunk of like the Fellowship of the Ring sort of takes place. It's also a very nice map, and I've got a paper copy of it that comes in the starter box, so we'll have a look at that in a second. In terms of quality for the map, it is quite thick material. It's really smooth and silky. It's like the sort of material that you'd probably want for like for playing on like a tabletop sort of surface. It's like fabricy enough to kind of catch things and soften dice and stuff bouncing around on it. But it has like a really nice velvety type of feel to it. It's a really nice quality map. I really like the art style of it. Personal taste, I would have maybe tea stained the material a little bit more, but it is very nice. It has some nice details on it, like it zooms in on certain parts of the Shire. Like here it has a zoomed in part of Bag End in Hobbiton, which is really nice. And the font used on it has your more traditional Tolkien style font, and then it has like this really like elaborate Celtic knotwork, the Shire across the top of it, and it breaks the Shire up into its different sort of domains. Yeah, the map in the Hobbit book is absolutely gorgeous. I think the first edition of the game had maps. They emulated the Tolkien style a little more than these do. I still really like the map style for these though. Yeah, okay. I think next thing to look at, we'll go smallest till it's sort of biggest. Is am I holding this the right way up? Yeah. The lore master screen or the GM screen. It is landscape. It has this very expressionistic, dark, gloomy artwork that spreads across the whole thing. It's really there to kind of capture the mood of like this small group facing against this horde of shadowy orcs and stuff like that. Hey, hi Eddie. It's quite clean and simple. I like a landscape GM screen because it means I can still see what's happening. I'll bring this closer because the camera sucks at focusing, but yeah, you can see the artwork here. Is really, it's like there's not an awful lot of detail in it. But it's like when I do like landscape stuff and I can kind of do like really rough atmospheric things that sort of grab your mood. The cover art in the second edition One Ring does a fantastic job of doing that. And on the inside, you have all your information that you need to quickly run a game. And the interior layout and design style inside the GM screen is the same sort of house style that they use for all of the products in the second edition for One Ring. Even the character sheets have that same style to them. I'm going to leave this until last, and I'm actually going to adjust the camera. If I can. I think I might have some blue tack or something somewhere that I can pin this down with. Let me see. So how is everyone's evening so far? Or afternoon, I know. America, you are not quite evening yet. My computer desk is a fucking riot. This is not going to work as well as I would hope it would. Crap. Okay, I'm just going to hold this. Okay, so this is the starter set. Again, you've got that pretty expressionistic sort of art. I can't remember the name of the person that done the art for the second edition game. Where there isn't too much in the way of like really heavy detail. They really use these silhouettes in the foreground quite heavily. Everything's quite clean. I'm just going to pop this open. Yep, got my old ass keyboard. So inside of the box lid, with a quick rundown on how dice rolls work. Really handy for players to have a hold of this, as well as the GM having it in their screen. You can see pretty much basic rules are all in here. The fact that they can all be kept in the box lid for a game tells you that the game is really straightforward and easy to play. Yes, Soma, it is indeed. So, inside the box, I have two sets of dice here. Hello, Goth Hoblin. Nice of you to join. I got two sets of dice with my pledge for the game. This is the set that comes in the box. So again, they have that same. That's okay. They have that same color combination that the layout for pretty much everything else has, where it's that kind of off-white, creamy color with red. We'll take these out. We'll have a look at them. I'm gonna set the webcam in the box while I open this. So we have our dice. Now, without having played the One Ring before, you will not notice. Hey! Hi Roddy, thanks for joining. You won't notice the misprint on these dice. Now in the One Ring, you tend to roll a dice pool, along with a d12, which is called a feat die. And those mechanics have stayed pretty much the same for second edition. And on the feat die, the numbers tend to be numbered 1 to 10. And the 11 is normally an Eye of Sauron, and the 12 is a Gandalf rune. Now, Free League admitted this today. They sent out an update on the Kickstarter that there is a misprint on all of the dice sets that they sent out. So my assumption is they asked the maker of the dice to make the lowest number an eye and the highest number a Gandalf rune, and didn't actually explain that the 11 should be the eye, and so the 1, and so yeah, the joke that Free League made was to treat any roll of an 11 as a 1 and call it your 11th roll. So I think I might go for that, and for that was actually my first roll of this D12. It came up a Gandalf rune, and that one came out an eye. But they are looking at ways on how to make this good. You might also notice on the dice that numbers 1, 3, 2 are hollow, and numbers 6, 4, and 5 are solid. And again, that works into the mechanics of the One Ring, that if you are weary, if you've been worn down physically so much that your efforts aren't fully appreciated, and any roll of a 1, 2, or 3 on your d6s count as nothing. They're empty rolls. This is the extra dice set that I backed. So this one they call the player dice set. This one is the Lore Master dice set. They are red and black to represent the forces of Sauron. They also have the same misprint. I have a feeling that I might keep these ones in the box. And hopefully Free League send out new dice are printed correctly, and I can keep a hold of these misprints and never ever use them. So we're going to take these out of the box. Yeah, luckily for players in my games, I have like 3 or 4 One Ring dice sets from the first edition that do not have the misprint. Yeah, the misprints are going to be collector's items. So I've not opened this yet either. So one of the first things I did for One Ring, being graphic design and illustrator based, is I made handy nifty little cards for stances for combat to give players. And I uploaded those stance cards to the One Ring Lore Master and Players groups on Facebook a good few years ago, and people really liked them. Really liked the idea of having cards at hand to quickly tell you what things do. Free League have actually taken the card thing and included them in the starter box for all of your items, armor, weapons, just so the players have a quick reference on as to what all of their equipment should do. Again, the One Ring isn't a rules heavy game, so it's all pretty straightforward. They all come with some nice artwork. Roddy, you're familiar with first edition. One of those items might have stuck out to you a little bit there. The cudgel. Blunt weapons weren't really in first edition. But clubs and cudgels and stuff all seem to make an appearance in the second edition. These will be really handy though for the game. The artwork is quite nice on them. All the artwork inside the books that isn't colour has this really traditional hand-drawn pencil illustrated look that I'm jealous of and might try and copy. They have these ones. These look like coasters. But again, from those of you that played the Christmas game or who have played before, you'll know that when you're in a party, each party member has a role assigned to them. Um, Guide, hunter, lookout, and scout. So they have those that on one side, with what characters in those roles do and what their primary skill should be within the group. So you've got the guide there in charge of all the decisions concerning route, rest, and supplies. They will use travel. The hunter finding food in the wild. They use hunting. Lookout. Trying to get this to focus. Charge of keeping watch. Awareness. And scout. Charge of setting up camps and opening new trails. They use explore. If we flip this round, we get a rundown of all the combat stances. So these are really handy to have. Mechanically, combat and stuff has changed a little bit in the One Ring. Your target number to hit you in the game will stay the same now instead of changing depending on your stance, and instead you'll get these bonuses and access to different abilities depending on your stance. So in forward stance, you get an extra d6 to roll, all your opponents get an extra d6 to roll, and you get access to intimidate foe. And open stance, no one gets any advantages or disadvantages, and you have the rally comrade ability. Rearward, a ranged attack. It even tells you here for each player in rearward there must be at least 2 other adventurers in close combat. And enemies can't outnumber the adventurers by more than 2 to 1, so that hasn't changed from first edition. You can only attack with and be targeted with range weapons. You get prepared shot and defensive stance. All close combat attacks aimed at you lose 1 dice. All of your attack rolls, you lose 1 dice for each opponent that is engaging you, so that's a little bit different. Streamlined. But you get the Protect Companion ability, which has always been there for people in defensive stance. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. Typically I'll play with a group of 4, 5 or 6 players, but it's handy if I have a copy of one of these, maybe for the first few times playing. But those are really handy to have and should make picking up the game pretty easy. I don't know if anyone can hear the music that's playing in the background or not, or if it's just on my end. I've got Lord of the Rings music playing at the minute. You canny. Let me see. Because it should be picking up. Fillers. Yeah, no, it's OBS. It should be plugged in to pick up the desktop audio, but clearly it's not. You did indeed spell that correctly. Right. This is another one where I'm going to have to put the camera back up to show it off. So you get to see my face. Appropriate that Scottish language. So those of you that were here at the start will recognise this map. This is the cloth map that I got. It is a little bit smaller than the cloth map. It's still a pretty big map. Okay, thanks Mel, I'll have a look at that after the stream. Pretty big map, map of the Shire. It is a gorgeous looking map. On the flip side, we have the map of Eriador, the former northern kingdoms of Middle Earth, where you have recognisable spots such as Bree, the Shire, Weathertop, all the way over to Rivendell, the Misty Mountains here on this side of the map, with Moria and the High Pass and all this good stuff that you recognise from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. On this side of the map you have Lindon and the Grey Havens, the lands of the elves, with their many ships for taking their kin into the west, and the Blue Mountains over here, which are home to some dwarfs who are not of Erebor. The map, very important for the One Ring. Travel journeys are a big part of the game. Planning your journeys is really important. The core book has the map of Eriador in it, and the front of the core book, I'll show you, has that map on a much smaller scale, and in the back cover it has the map with hexagonal points on it for travel time and difficulty of the journey, as well as any hazards and stuff that might pop out. Pre-gens for the starting adventure that's in the starter box. We have Drogo Baggins, father of Frodo. We have Esmeralda Took, who I believe is Frodo's mother. Who's my favourite Tolkien character? My favourite Tolkien character is Luthien from the Silmarillion, because I like badass female characters, and if they're an elf, that is a double bonus. And yeah, Luthien goes and well, she falls in love with a human, but she then goes and helps that human out of a number of tricky situations, like helps him escape a tower controlled by Sauron and protected by werewolves. She comes up with the idea to wear the hides of the said monsters to sneak into Morgoth is a castle. The name's completely slipped me at the minute. She even enchants the first Dark Lord and his court to put them asleep, so that Beren can steal one of the Silmarils, and the Addict gets greedy and tries to steal more than one. Luthien is a badass. Outside of Luthien, my second favourite character is also a female in Tolkien, and that is Eowyn. And then I have a soft spot for Sam. But yeah, the character sheets, the pre-gen character sheets here are for the starter adventure. You all play as hobbits, you play as important hobbits. She gives you a little bit of history on them, as well as all of their stats. And I said you're playing as Frodo's mother and father. Don't know who this person is. Apparently she marries one of the Saxfills Bagginses. It makes sense. She looks like it. Paladin Took the second. Yep. All Hobbit party for the starting adventure We've got a Took, we've got a Brandybuck. I think these are all related to Pippin and Merry in some way. Another Brandybuck. And again, the artwork is it's just so nice. Much to my surprise, the box also has a character sheet for Balin, son of Findan of Thorin's company, and for Bilbo. Which I find very interesting, having not actually read what the starter adventure is. But yeah, so there's a lot of pre-gen characters. This one technically isn't part of the starter box. It came with the GM screen. I'm waiting for the camera to focus. Yep. It's a very small paperback slip-in booklet containing some more information on yeah, this camera isn't going to play ball. Let me see if I can balance it a little bit. Come on. No. Okay, so I'm just going to have to hold this up and show you. Which is fine. So we've got the interior. Nice, clean, simple. The paper has a slight texturing to it. The paper inside the books is actually really thick, really high quality paper that they printed it on. All the books have this sort of trim along them. It's a sort of elvish script. Or it doesn't. Some of it has elvish script that has this sort of leaf pattern. So the first page has a little bit of a map on Rivendell. Really nice hand-drawn map with a key for where everything is. We've got a map, sort of isometric style map of the House of Elrond. There's a bit on composing music while you're in Rivendell as a fellowship phase action, and how you get bonuses to that. Information on Elrond, Half-Elven. They've tried to fit it into the canon as much as possible, while still leaving enough room for players to, you know, do their own thing in Middle-earth. It was a big part of why the first edition was set in the Wilderland, because it isn't really explored beyond The Hobbit. In this, they move the timeline along in the second edition by about 20 years, and they refocused it to being in Eriador, the sort of ruins of the north. So we've got stats on Elrond, we have, and what he can do for you as a patron. We have information on Arwen, and it even says that the first time a mortal player hero sees Arwen, they recover 1 point of hope. as her presence and grace encourages them. Hope is really difficult to get back in the one run, or at least it was in first edition. I'm not sure how that compares in second edition, so that is quite handy to know. They have information on Elladan and Elro here, who are the twin sons of Elrond. As well as some of the other elves of Rivendell, such as Eristor and Glorfindel. Glorfindel is a motherfucking badass if you do not know who he is from Tolkien mythology. He is one of the few people alive to have fucked up a Balrog in single combat. He, similar to Gandalf, was killed and brought back. Yeah, Glorfindel is a fucking badass. It does kind of sound like a joke name, but yeah, he is one elf you do not want to fuck with. They have... So this is the thing. In the core book, you can play as elves, but they are elves of Lindon. Which means the majority of them are not high elves. They are not Noldor. This book has the cultural mechanics for playing a high elf, who, if they're similar to what they were in first edition, are a little bit more powerful than your typical elf. They have a lot more stuff kind of going for them. Yeah, again, you've got this really nice art. You've got some examples of high elven names for making your character. Gives you the rundown of what all their starting skills and combat proficiencies are. They've really simplified combat proficiencies, like what weapons and stuff characters can use in second edition. They've changed how you'll notice that the skills here are, two of them are underlined and in red. That means they are favoured skills of this particular culture. They've changed how favoured skills kind of work in the second edition, where I think you roll 2d12 now. I take the best one, I think that's how it works. Have a look here at what their starting endurance, hope and parry is. As you can see, yeah, I really love the print layout. It's giving me ideas for how I might want to lay out the RPG that I'm currently writing. From, yeah, high elves do not have particularly good starting hope from the looks of that. And then, yeah, we've got some virtues for high elves, which are quite nice. And then we're at like that is the Rivendell book that comes with the Lore Master screen. We have the adventure book. It's laid out very much the same way. Has this big opening cover piece of some hobbits hiding from a warg in a very dark, spooky looking woods. Some adventurers that take us through. The adventures take us through the Shire. From what I've seen from kind of skimming through it, and as I said, you play as some characters are mentioned in the Lord of the Rings but aren't ever really, like Frodo's parents and stuff. some stone troll stats. Fireworks, I'm assuming Gandalf probably going to make an appearance in that adventure. Some interesting goblin art. Again, you can see that the layout keep it pretty consistent. They've got these nice sort of illumination style artwork along the edges of the page. And Voluntary Postman. Yeah, these all sound like fairy shirey type adventures that are going to be so fun. We've got some interesting elf looking art going on here. Yeah, takes you close to the old forest. We've got some fat hobbits going on. Scary wargs. And again, that's a really nice end piece of illustration there, where it's showing you the hobbits kind of exploring some of the ruins of Arnor. And then you've got some quotes and stuff up here. That's a really nice quote. Yeah. Again, this book has the same quality of paper and print as the Rivendell one. And you can notice that there is a consistency with all the covers. The eye symbol, they changed that up a little bit. I've only just noticed that. It's not quite parchment paper, but it's like really thick, high quality, like really smooth, silky paper. I've just noticed that the eye emblem on all the covers changes, and that is really cool. Game starts off similarly. Some prologue stuff here. This is just like the sort of rundown of the basic game and how it's structured. The mechanics presented here and the starter box are a little lighter than they are in the core book, and there are some slight changes apparently. I think the mechanics presented in the core book are actually easier, from what I've heard. When they talk about target numbers and stuff, I think it starts as an 18 minus the attribute, and this, while in the core book it's 20 minus the attribute, which makes things a little harder. Like this really nice Gandalf illustration. Some hobbits exploring. Again, Gandalf talking to either Bilbo or Frodo. Not entirely sure who it's supposed to depict. You can see that they've reused some art here and there, but not a lot, surprisingly. A final booklet, I think, in the box set. This, get it at, is on the Shire, and this just gives you like a brief history, timeline for the Shire, that's about the geography, things that you might find hidden there, an uncoloured version of that map, some offence that might occur while you're journeying. Bits about the different regions, going into detail. There is enough in here that you could, if you want to continue the adventures in the starter book, build on them, to explore the Shire a little bit more, you could easily do that. This is maybe one of my favourite art pieces. It's this hobbit on the banks of the river, kind of hiding, watching a procession of elves as they're journeying west. And I just love the way the artist has kind of depicted this, where there's no detail in this. It's all silhouettes and outlines. There's some use of tone on some of the elves on the bridge, but it's just that. It's not like intricate details. They're using a little bit of tonal variation to kind of imply certain things. And I don't know if anyone has seen the Ralph Bakshi, can't pronounce that, Lord of the Rings animated movie from the 70s or 80s. The colour artwork in this book reminds me very much of that art style. I think they do have pointed ears, but they're very slight. They're not like over the top, like World of Warcraft, or they'd probably be closer to what a lot of people see half-elves with in D&D, where it's like a slight point to them. They're not these like ridiculous things that kind of stick out the side of their head. Not that I'm against those type of elves, but yeah, this contains lots of things about the Shire and the dangers and stuff that you might find. This is another really nice piece. This might even actually be depicting it's definitely depicting hobbits on the ferry across the Bree. Might not exactly be Frodo and company. But yeah, they've got like rumours, things that you might hear in conversation while you're in certain places, all that sort of good stuff that you can use as adventure hooks. I've got a bit here about the old forest, which means that they might have do they have? They do. Information on the house of Tom Bombadil and Tom Bombadil himself. And I think they even have mechanics for Tom Bombadil and Goldman as patrons of the party. And then the inside of the box is the Shire map. Once again. So content wise, the starter box comes with a ton of stuff for running a game with the One Ring, but mostly from the point of view of hobbits, which I suppose is a good starting point. What actor would I choose to play Tom Bombadil? That's a difficult one. Because you'd want someone that's kind of old, but who can do kind of light and cheery. Hmm. I'm actually kind of leaning towards. I don't know. What's his name? I don't know if he'd be too serious. Actually, oh god, the actor's name's actually completely gone out of my head. Not Tom Cruise. Um, let me Google. Yeah. You probably want some old British actor. Maybe maybe Gary Oldman. I think he could maybe like Gary Oldman can act. He can properly change who he is at a moment's notice. And I think he could maybe do it. You're saying Alan Cumming? I could maybe see it. Yeah. See, I'm like looking for old British actors. I was originally kind of thinking Patrick Stewart, but I think it'd be too serious. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gary Oldman. That's my final answer. Gary Oldman for Tom Bombadil. Okay, that brings us to the final. Ooh, what's yeah. Yeah, I could maybe see it. I could also see them casting someone like Simon Pegg or something as Tom Bombadil as well, as this like kind of throwaway comic relief character. Not that I don't like Simon Pegg, but yeah, I'm not sure. So we are on to the final piece of the starter vote, or the Kickstarter pledge. So I pledged at My Precious level, which comes with the collector's edition of the core book, which is a faux leather, red leather to mimic the red book that Frodo and Bilbo both record their journeys in, with the gold embossing, that same sort of leaf pattern around the edges with elvish font, with the Eye of Sauron in the middle, with the iconic words of the One Ring sort of going around the outside, and the elvish script. And then they have these 3 rings, which I believe are supposed to depict the rings of the elves on the outside. So this has the map of Eriador. Sorry, my microphone is casting a shadow. But you've got the map of Eriador, which is huge. Similar, so the paper and the core book has a slightly different feel to it. It's not as smooth, still really thick, but it has more of that parchment paper type feel to it that someone was asking about earlier. And I like how they've done the contents page, because the only cover art that's in the core book is the big sort of multi-page spread at the start of each chapter. So they've actually shown you little thumbnails of all of those art pieces along the top, so it's really easy for you to find your way through, and a really concise list of what is in each section of the book. I really like this layout. And then we've got that first double page spread of a group of hobbits setting off on a journey. And you've got your prologue with this really nice font facing. You've got a letter here from Gandalf. You've got a bit about the Third Age. A little bit about the second edition. A timeline. Starting from when Thorin's company set off to Erebor. To I think, yeah, roughly about the start of where the timeline for the second edition begins. So the first edition timeline starts here, in 2949. 5 years, or might actually be earlier than that. Shire is like New Zealand. Shire is like a lot of places in Scotland, and I suppose in north of England as well, like the Lake District and stuff. That's the artwork of Gandalf again. Here, I think that might be the Witch King. You've got the structure of the game, you've got your second multi-page here, a group of adventurers camping at the site of the stone trolls from The Hobbit, which is really cool. Basic mechanics, making your rolls, success table, dice modifiers. So yeah, when you make a favoured roll in the second edition, you roll 2 feat die and take the best result. That's very different from the first edition mechanic. You've got your conditions: miserable, weary and wounded. Those haven't changed very much from what I could tell. A breakdown of the character sheet. Here, another adventuring party. Again, everything's kind of kept kind of loose. There isn't much in the way of details, but you can kind of see there that it's a party of a dwarf, a hobbit, a human, and an elf. And they do have pointed ears, but it's very subtle. Character creation rules. That looks like it might be a fell based. Languages and names. Every character is kind of considered to speak common. This was a weird decision. Yeah, Mal, thanks for joining in. Hope your wife is feeling better soon. And thank you for joining. And I'll catch you online. I'll reply to your message on Twitter as soon as I'm done here. So we have Bardings, which is an odd choice. Yeah. Have a good evening, all things considered. So Bardings are the people from Dale. It's weird that they're included when the campaign is now shifted to Erebor. We have the dwarves of Durin's folk. So we've just kind of grouped all the dwarves together. Instead of having like 4 different cultures for them. We've got the elves of Lindon. They're the most westerly elves in Middle Earth. They're a little bit different from High Elves presented in the Rivendell book. They have a little bit more hope to start with. We have hobbits with their little hairy legs and feet. Little hobbit children. The Men of Bree. We have Rangers of the North. They have this nice ribbon. I believe the Kickstarter was supposed to have 2 ribbons in it, but I don't really care. But yeah, Rangers of the North. They all look pretty grim. Different callings. These have changed a little bit, Roddy. Captain, Champion, Messenger, Scholar, Treasure Hunter, and Warden. Previous experience, starting gear. I don't think that's changed very much. They put a minimum, I think, standard of living for it. Yeah, Rangers are in the core book. They are now a core culture. They have, instead of down-powering Rangers, they've kind of up-powered the other races a little bit to be more in line with them. They took away some of the drawbacks of being a Ranger as well. Rewards and virtues. So rewards have changed. Yeah, no problem. I'll catch you later on, Gotham. Have a good dinner. Hopefully it's something tasty and suitable for a hobbit. Yep. Rewards are different. Thank you. Have a good evening. There are no cultural rewards in 2nd edition. The reward system works off of sort of weapon traits, kind of like the generic ones from the core book, plus some extra ones, kind of like the magic items mechanics that were in the 1st edition, are just kind of rolled into the one thing now. Things like raising an air, all that good stuff. I think this is the same adventuring company. Going off the silhouettes, you got the human, probably a ranger at the front, elf just behind them, the hobbit, and then the dwarf kind of covering the rear here, going up a mountain. Skills, some more lovely artwork. Say combat proficiencies have changed a little bit. They just group everything. Instead of individual weapons, you're trained in a group of weapons. Endurance and hope haven't changed much. They're a little bit clearer on things like your traits. Again, I really like that art piece. Resting. Oh, okay. You can take 1 short rest per day. I could see that killing a few D&D players. When you short rest, adventurers recover a number of lost endurance points that go to their strength rating. Wounded heroes do not recover any points at all. That's kind of similar to the short taking a breather sort of rules in the 1st edition. Okay, prolonged rest. Under a normal circumstance, company is allowed to take a single prolonged rest each day, usually a night's sleep. The lower master may allow the group to take more than 1 prolonged rest if the player heroes are recovering in a safe and comfortable place. Okay, so So if you're taking a... Yeah, no taking a 15-minute break after every fight. I think going by that, like, it's supposed to be a short rest in the middle of the day, so that's maybe like stopping for food and stuff for maybe like 15, 20 to like half an hour maybe. The prolonged rest will recover all of your lost endurance points if you're unwinded, or a number of endurance points that go to your strength if you're wounded. Okay, that's okay. Hope. Okay, players has hope are reduced to 0 or spiritually drained, and it is possible for them to find the energy required to push themselves. Miserable, recovering hope. You can spend fellowship to recover hope. Whenever the company is resting, the player heroes may spend any number of fellowship points to distribute an equal number of hope points among the player heroes. All players must agree. Taking a break from adventuring. During the fellowship phase, all heroes recover a number of hope points to their heart score. Okay, so hope is a little bit easier to gain back in 2nd edition. Finally, player heroes who are down to 0 hope recover a single point of hope once they take a prolonged rest. But that's the only time that they gain a point of hope from a prolonged rest. Okay. That is interesting. Standards living, war gear. Whole description of what all the war gear is. Going in Power and Wisdom, we've got this nice ruined citadel sort of look. I think this actually might be Fornost. Power. Yeah, so you've got your reward lists, you've got your different types of things. Close fitting, cunning make, fill, yeah, these are all kind of similar to 1st edition. It kind of sucks that they got rid of cultural rewards though. I think they added a nice bit of flavour to each of the cultures. I could probably see myself reintroducing the cultural rewards. Maybe because they've got your generic virtues and then cultural virtues, but no cultural specific rewards, which is really odd. I know that they've made a lot of changes to these to make sure that they compared it to the 1st edition. They found certain virtues weren't used, so they kind of ditched them or rolled them into other ones and added in some new stuff to make sure all the characters could do really cool stuff. Bree Pony. Yeah. Raise your maximum hope. The artwork. I want a pony. Rangers. Yeah, they've got a lot of the same stuff. They've just been reworked a little bit. This is another real cool piece. Like, it looks like a ranger and a hobbit along with some high elf ready to fucking go ham on some orcs. It's gonna be so good. Combat. Oh man, that artwork is so badass. Run down a combat. Combat's fairly straightforward in the One Ring. all the weapon breakdowns again. That means they appear twice in the book. We went back to one special maneuver per combat stance, but I'll have a look at it and see if we can maybe work in the old additional ones back in. Council, so they've kind of structured the social mechanics a bit better in second edition, which I like. It now kind of functions a bit closer to a combat, but for social interaction, and they're only to be used during really important social interactions. In any other social interaction, you can generally get by with a single skill roll. And journeys, they've streamlined these again and made journeys a bit more interesting by specifically adding events that occur through the journey, depending on the difficulty of the journey and things like that, as well as still having some hazards play out. That is definitely a fell beast. This looks like Lake Town. And I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan, because the artist is clearly taking inspiration from the Hobbit movie. It's kind of cool, but that movie left me so annoyed. Fellowship phases, yeah, streamlined and developed, which is good. As much as I like the journey roles and the social roles from the One Ring, they are a bit messy at points, so having a bit more structure to them is good. Some changes to the Fellowship phase action. Things that you can only do at Yule, which is the year-end Fellowship phase, which is interesting. You can sing songs. This is cool. I think this is supposed to be one of the ring roofs. So this is the Lore Master section. So we've got running the game. Underwear for the Lore Master. All the stuff that you'd expect to find. You've got some pretty grim looking fortification here. Some Lore Master characters, Shadow, Gollum, looking like an absolute fucking baller. And it is definitely supposed to be Gollum because it's in the section about succumbing to Shadow. And I think he looks pretty cool. It's kind of nice to see a depiction that isn't just the movie Gollum. Gaining and losing, using flaws, adversaries, attribute level, hate. That is most definitely. That's the Nine Ring Rifts, and that piece of art right there, and that is the Witch King in the middle. That's cool as fuck. Got Evil Man, Sovereign Raiders, Sovereign Champions, some ruffians, bandits, and all that sort of stuff. Orcs, Orc Slavers, Goblin Archers, Orc Soldiers, big fuck off fat orcs. Got your trolls. Yeah. undead, wights and wraiths. Oh, man, wargs. Fuck yeah. Fucking werewolves. The most badass of wargs. We have treasure. Hordes of treasure. Treasure indexes. So yeah, they made finding magic items a much more important part, as they should be in Lord of the Rings Middle-earth adventure. And they have a treasure index. This is where it's gonna kill me, because everybody knows I do not prep or don't prep very much. But in the One Ring, it's intended for there to only be a limited amount of magical treasures in a campaign, and that those magical treasures are kind of predetermined by fate to come into the hands of certain characters, much in the way of like Sting and the Mithril coat of armor, and that sort of stuff. When it came to Bilbo and Thorin and the sort of characters and the Hobbit and the Fellowship, and so the Lore Master, which is a term for your DM or GM in the One Ring, is intended to predetermine how many magic items are actually going to be in their campaign, and assign them to who they should be for, as well as a few minor magical items, which are your marvellous artifacts and wondrous items. But when it comes to weapons and armour and your marvellous artifacts and wondrous items, there should only be a limited amount, and they're kind of predetermined, which means I have to kind of... It's not something that I'd probably think of at the start of a campaign. I'd probably want to get to know the player characters a little bit and then start to plan them out. I've only done this once before, and it was the Darknin and Mirkwood campaign that we were playing in, Roddy, where I had one of these treasure indexes already planned out for the party and never ever got to use it, but I could probably steal some ideas from it for a future campaign. But yeah, and instead of your cultural rewards, you're expected to find these artifacts, and those kind of take the place of cultural rewards in second edition. But I don't see any reason why I probably couldn't take some of the cultural rewards from first edition and rework them to fit this. Yeah. So you've got like your minor items, they have certain things, and the sort of item that they might kind of look for, they will benefit certain skills, and then you've got your famous weapons and armour, and it gives you a rundown how you should design them, and the type of craftsmanship that goes into them, and what sort of benefits that they can have. So you've got Elvish craftsmanship going back to the first age, Dwarven craftsmanship going back to the first age, or up to the Khazad-dûm era before the fall of Moria, and like Númenórean craftsmanship, and all of these enchanted benefits, all these rewards. So like ancient close fitting and superior Grievous, they're all kind of upgrades to the main ones that you can have at the start. And then there's some extra things, and then there's specifically things like Mithril armor. Yeah, mail shirt, coat of mail, Mithril have their lord rating of 3 and 6, so they're a lot lighter. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. There's also cursed items. and that can provide interesting story hooks. We've got the eye awareness mechanic. It is here as an optional rule, as it was in first edition. I fucking love this rule. It makes the game edgy as shit. Bad things happen. Yep. This landscape is fucking glorious. Yeah. Yep. It's so nice. This gives you details on the world, a little bit of detail on all the areas. So you've got things like rumours that you might hear in the Prancing Pony, other parts of Bree, events that take place, events that can happen when you're travelling in certain regions. Things like here, like Weathertop, Kratatrip, going the Eastern Road, and things that may happen to you along there. You've got ruins along the Greenway, so ruins of the old Kingdom of Arnor. Going into the Barrow Downs. Stuff that you might find there. What you might find in Fornos, events that might happen in the ruins of the old capital. Some stats for special orcs, named orcs. Weathertop, Angmar, Trolljaw, like it covers the whole region. You've got the Blue Mountains, Linden. There is another book that's coming that I backed along with this and all the stuff that came in the starter set. There is supposed to be downloadable content that go into more detail about some of the regions in the north and Eriador, and a few pre-written adventures. But the Kickstarter came with the option of getting a print version of all of that combined, called the Ruins of a Lost Realm, which is currently being laid out and finalised at the minute. So in a few months I should probably get a copy of that kind of coming through, and I think that'll be cool as hell. But what I might do is I might take the Ruins of the North adventure book from first edition and see about converting it to the second edition, and run that, because I think that could be awesome as fuck. The first adventure in that had you go to Angmar, which is absolutely nuts. These orcs, these are pig-faced orcs. Like, you can't see his face in the camera, but like, yeah, you can look at that face shape. You can't tell me these aren't supposed to be pig-faced orcs. The best kind of orcs, like old school orcs. I love them. Is this a starting adventure? Oh, it's the appendix. So patrons, got Bilbo, Círdan the shipwright, the only elf. You're right, he doesn't really have the pointy ears here. Only elf in Middle Earth to have a beard. Got Gandalf. Gilrain is Aragorn's mother, I think. If I'm remembering right. Yep, she's the mother of Aragorn. And they have a thing called landmarks, which are like sort of locations that have kind of been fleshed out a little bit, like ruins and stuff, that all have a little background to them, some rumours, some lore, some events that can happen there that you can use to sort of build adventures around, and this one has like some really cool isometric style maps that go with them, which is cool. And they have a few enemies and stuff that you might encounter there. So this is like ancient Dunedain tower. Which is cool, and they have this section here, nameless things, which is a random generation table for building your own nameless horror, like the thing that lurks outside Moria. That predate history in Middle Earth, with like random rumours, characteristics, attacks, special abilities. Those are going to be really fun to play with. And then we've got the really simple character sheet here. That has a section for drawing a map on the back. I'd love to see my players actually use it. Doubt they will. But it's a really simple landscape character sheet, which is interesting. And again, looking at the really nice layout of this book, it has given me so many ideas for how I could lay out the sort of JRPG game that I'm designing at the minute. I like the idea of the landscape character sheet very much. The only other games that I've seen that in are Adventures in the Eastmark had one, which is a OSR game. I think that might be it. I think that's the only other game I've seen a landscape character sheet in, and I really like them. I think they're really practical to have. We'll look at that in a second. Yeah, that brings us to the end. So this is a GM map with the hexes for measuring travel distance. And what all the different colours mean, if places are treacherous, if they're free lands, if they're easy to travel, difficult to travel, and a quick rundown of how you make travel tests, which is handy. And that brings us to the end. Try and get us to focus. There we go. That is the One Ring Kickstarter first impressions. I am really forward to getting kind of tore into looking for this book and starting a game of it at some point. I think I might start with the starter box. I think running a whole adventure where everybody plays a hobbit, and not just any hobbit, but some key hobbits in the history of the Shire and Middle Earth, could be really fun. And yeah, I am so happy that this has eventually came in. It was delayed quite a bit with Brexit and COVID and all that stuff going on. It really sucks about the dice being a misprint, but I'm fairly sure that Free League will sort that out at some point. And yeah, like, I'm so happy. I backed another Free League Kickstarter shortly after this one, which was for Symborum, but it was their 5th edition D&D mechanic conversion. It looked really cool. It had some really good corruption mechanics and stuff to 5th Ed. It tones down the healing mechanics quite a bit. It completely redoes races and classes to fit the Symborum setting. While I might not enjoy 5th Ed all that much, I think I will enjoy the 5th Ed conversion of Symborum, and those players who end up playing it with me who are a bit more comfortable with 5th Ed will probably find it a bit easier to get into. For those that don't know, Symborum is a gritty, dark fantasy setting where there's this big, massive expanse of woodlands that this new kingdom is tried to explore and colonize, and the woodlands is full of elves. Even at that, they don't go too deep into the woods themselves, because the deeper into the woods you go, there's these ancient ruins of this lost civilization that are cursed and corrupted, and it's a really cool dark fantasy setting from Free League. I have the PDF for the Symborum game itself. The mechanics are pretty cool, but I felt that backing the 5th Ed conversion might be a bit easier to find players for. But yeah, that's it. I might do this again for other Kickstarters in the future. I have Kickstarted 2 board games. Those will be pretty cool to go over. And yeah, but this, I was hyped for this for like almost a year. Probably even a year. Because kind of knew a few weeks before the Kickstarter went live that they were going to start working on this, and then the Kickstarter went live in February last year. It was supposed to arrive in November. It obviously did not. Yeah, that is me. I'd like to thank everybody that joined me for the stream tonight. I hope you found my first impressions of all the stuff and the One Ring Kickstarter stuff that I got in really interesting to look at. The art is fucking gorgeous, and I will catch you all in the future. If anybody's still watching, anybody watches the stream afterwards, you will catch me streaming next time on Sunday over on DMDM_studios, where we run Legends of the Five Rings, Heart of the Wild, Heart of the Empire, Heart of the Wild. God, I'm mixing One Ring up with other games now. But yeah, thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.